Civil activist Wayne Duvenhage joins us now for more. Very good evening to you, Wayne. Thank you so much for speaking to us. As was mentioned there in that report, the revitalization, resumption and successes of the rail corridor recovery program being the focus of this since it was instituted by PRISA. But the question is, this has been a long time coming, the revitalization, particularly of the rail corridors that have been affected. Are we seeing significant movement just in terms of the pace?
Yeah, look, as far as we're concerned, this should never have happened in the first place. To have these excuses and feedback that it was due to COVID-19 and other factors, which did exacerbate things, but we should never have had the security breaches and lapses that gave rise to where we got to with PRASA. And the saddest thing is that the poor communities are impacted heavily. Over 200,000 to 300,000 commuters are being impacted on this, on the loss of these lines. So it really is a sad situation we find ourselves in.
And as we saw there, the Pretoria Penarsport line, that's undergone a major reconstruction with the reintroduction of advanced signaling technology, modernized high-speed circuit breakers, and the use of aluminium wires to counter copper theft. But can this be replicated elsewhere around the country? Do we have the funding for this?
Well, we are broke as a nation, and again, this is billions of rands that have to be put in to restore what should never have been allowed to get to the state that they're in. And if you're talking beyond PRASA, far too much traffic has been moved from rail to road over the last a number of years, over the last decade or so. We've seen PRASA or Transnet, and now its load factors on rail are extremely low, and they shouldn't be where they are right now. So, this is going to cost a lot of money to fix our rail networks. We need to take freight off the roads, put them back onto rail. We need to put commuters off the roads because it's very expensive in taxis and not as safe, and put them back into get people using public transport. And I've always said that the sign of a developed a region or city is not one where the poor drive to work in cars. It's when everybody uses public transport, including the rich, in reliable and sustainable and safe public transport. We've got a long way to go to get there, but this is a good sign. These are the first steps. But it is a lot of money that could have been put to other good use in this country, and sadly we're having to repair what should never have been broken.
Is that, in terms of moving freight from road to rail, the Transport Minister making that commitment and the National Assembly earlier on, funnily enough, speaking to some of the freight drivers on the road, saying that they don't see this happening anytime soon. But more importantly, the NetMap strategy, I know that was planned for 2030, but it's been in place for a while, and I'm wondering, why are we struggling to achieve this efficient, affordable, reliable, but particularly well-integrated transport system nationally?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. Why is it in the state? It's a leadership issue, quite frankly. This is about making sure that you have all the systems, that you have the accountability, that you're measuring the dashboards of performance, and that you do not ever allow the situation to slip as far as it has gone. So, road transport is very, very expensive. For people to move their freight onto road, it's a last resort, I can assure you. And we are hearing of companies that are actually closing down in South Africa and moving to Botswana and other countries because it's going to be better for them to get their raw products there and to manufacture there, because they just can't transport stuff across the rail networks here. And this is costing us jobs in many regards. So I think the short answer is we need strong leadership in these state-owned entities. We've seen how Transnet was decimated, billions of rands unnecessarily spent on over 1,000 locomotives, which was unnecessary. There was some requirement, but not to the extent that happened during Brian Molefe's days. Well, that corruption has been exposed, and maladministration in the Zondo Commission. We've got to get back to basics. We've got to put in place systems are very important, the structures and the leadership, and not tolerate the lack of accountability that we see too often in these state-owned institutions.
But in terms of, being a visible part of the economic growth strategy across government departments, is that happening if we're talking about an integrated government?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, across all departments, you're talking right down to local government. I think we see far too much lack of accountability. We see problems, and the Auditor General's report just spells it out very clearly. We have people in positions that are not qualified to be in those positions. We have so much work that has to be done in restoring good governance in our state-owned institutions, in local government. We've seen decimation of municipalities that are going to be very difficult to recover. And what we also find is this a consistent problem of throwing people at the problems instead of dealing with the issues. If you look at the cost of local government on society in the last 14 years, it's gone up by 40% more than what it should have. And what happens is you bring in consultants, they cost more, and then eventually you've got no money or not enough money for maintenance and plant maintenance and infrastructure upgrading. And so we find this dereliction of our infrastructure. And the same thing has happened at Transnet. The same thing has happened at PRASA. And unless we fix and hold people accountable for allowing these situations to happen, we're going to continue to have the same problems. So we really need to start looking at the underlying causes and the systemic issues. And it generally comes down to, in any business, in any organization, if you're going to be a accounting officer for an organization and hold on to your job while your results continue to go south, while you continuously have these audit outcomes, and you can hold on to your job, well, you've got to blame the oversight institutions, you've got to blame COGTA, you've got to blame Treasury. There's so much that has to be done from the top point of view.
Thank you so much for your time. Civil activist Wayne Duvenhage speaking to us about Transport Month, which was launched by the Transport Minister earlier on, focusing on rail infrastructure and rejuvenation. Let's take